back to the OnesReady podcast. Trent and Kevin Edgerton here. But before we get started, head on over to OnesReady.com. Check out all the gear and the merch we have. We have 18 Alpha shirts, which this is basically going to be an hour-long 18 Alpha commercial, I'm pretty sure.
Let's hope so.
You have your OnesReady merch. You also have Attack League stuff that you can buy right off the website. So if you're buying an 18 Alpha program and you get to the phase of the program where you can actually ruck, you're going to need a ruck. Right? You need a ruck.
And then for your SW prep, you're going to need fins and mass. So you might as well go to a athlete and get your stuff.
All the fun stuff. It's right there on OnesReady.com. The code is built in. The discount is built in. So no need to do any of that other stuff. It's a one-stop shop. Super easy. And then make sure you like and subscribe. Don't be lazy. Subscribe. Help us. Help you. Help us. Help us. Something like that. Hit the subscribe button. Don't be a turd. So I am here today with Kevin Edgerton. You've seen us stretching. It's quotations for me. Yeah. Kev actually knows what he's doing. But hey, man, welcome to the actual podcast.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome back. You've been on before.
Once, yes, sir.
Last time we talked about your whole
career. Yeah, let's not do that.
18 series career, all that other stuff. But then after your career, you ended up in the Air Force Special Warfare pipeline stuff during kind of a tumultuous time.
Ooh,
in our training
evolution, growth,
right,
expansion.
So because the Army, I think, has so many more people. You train so many more people, and Green Berets are so well known, and Rangers and all that other stuff. And I'm assuming the training is a little more consistent on that side of the house. Fewer changes.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. You know what I mean? The training is always the same. It's going to be a test.
Yeah.
You're going to do a test, and then you're going to go very specific training, and that lasts a lot longer. I mean, with very specific training.
Right. What was the biggest thing that surprised you when you came over to the Air Force side of the house?
That the support people don't do PT. Or anybody else in the Air Force that's not special operations.
So in the Army, like your
every morning you had 6 o'clock in the morning, la-di-da-di, everybody did PT.
Yeah, I mean, I've been stationed on an Army base before. We had to like shoo them out of our parking lot.
Yes.
Be like, you nerds, get out. Let me into my building.
Yeah, can't even get in your building.
Yeah.
But
I'm the Air Force guy with like my coffee. Just like, God, Army guys, get out of the way. So the lack of general PT in the Air Force was disconcerting. Why would it be important for support folks to work out?
Because you got to build camaraderie with the operators. I mean, but without you guys, we can't do our job. And if you're shitty at your job, we don't need you.
Damn. Okay. Jeez, Kev, just come right out there and say it.
Man, it's an honor to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else surprising about the way the Air Force does business versus the Army?
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, Aaron and I are retired now, so we can say whatever. When Jared's a chief, no one's going to fire him. So
I just couldn't believe you guys how you threw a dart at a dartboard and make it stick.
What does that mean?
Like let's do this big shiny object, and then you wouldn't do a process. There's a military decision making process. There's things out there to do to get you from point A to point B. And it's in a book called Military Decision Making Process. And it baffled me that one guy had it on his desk the whole time, and he said he would use it. And I was like, but it's made for a staff. One person can't do that. All of those steps in there.
Yeah. Was that person the commander?
He was the XL.
Okay.
Good guy. He's about to retire.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? Because like when we were there, the big change happened. We went from just being a squadron underneath the traditional Air Force training group, and then we became our own group.
Group.
And then we built into a wing with a whole bunch of positions that are probably still not filled to this day.
For what?
HP.
It doesn't matter. There's 78 people did in that squadron what like 550 do now, and you're still getting the same output.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? I think it was important to get like direct funding because one of the things that was happening was
the money issue. I get it. It's all about the money, people.
Well, I mean, the group and wing commander, everybody has priorities. And if you're not part of our community, we're probably not going to be your priority.
Right.
And because the Air Force does it different, where all of our training falls under, the big blue Air Force AETC thing, you're kind of
fighting for the scraps.
Yeah. So it was what it was. What about the students? Is because we hear stuff like this all the time. The SEAL students, the Army students are a different breed than the Air Force students.
My interaction with them, I think they're a little bit smarter than Army guys. I'm sorry, they knew what their knowledge was far superior than. I remember myself as an Army guy going in as Green Beret. I mean, I'm sorry, but these guys most of them were sharp guys. Because you got to remember, I was working with Red Team. These guys had already been to selection, been to airborne school, been to SEER school. I'm getting them ready to go test again. And, they had to basically go do a no selection again at Fort Bragg before they changed the whole pipeline. But those guys they were pretty sharp.
Well, I think it's a different thing, right? Because to just get into Air Force, the special ops type side of jobs, you have to kind of dig for it. Like everybody knows Green Beret, SEALs, blah, blah, blah. To even discover the job, to learn enough about it, to light the fire under your ass, and then to actually do it, you're starting out at a different base level of understanding.
Yeah. I just remember the guys a little bit older. You know what I mean? They weren't like the ones that actually really knew their stuff were older guys. They weren't 18, 17, 19-year-old kids. These guys were 22 and above, that 22 to 25 time age range.
Why we do tend to attract a little bit of an older crowd. I don't know if it's just the education that they get or their willingness to go find stuff, or
I think it's because they're willing to go find something different that's that lines up with their morals and goals.
Right. They're not 18 just trying to find themselves.
Right. I was 18 trying to find myself. That's why I joined the Army, but the Air Force wouldn't take me.
Are there physically, are there different things that you need to train for our pipeline versus the Green Beret pipeline? I don't know, 18 Alpha Fitness, 18A Fitness.com, you have all the programs broken out. Mm-hmm. So what are the big differences between the Air Force specialties and then also just generally versus your Army specialties?
Right. So the Air Force specialty, again, the guys I was training, the water is the humbling experience if you've never experienced it on firsthand. I experienced it a little bit because I tried to do pre-dive when I was in as an enlisted guy. Didn't make it because I like oxygen. So that's huge. That's the biggest. That overcoming water is, one of the, if you can do that mentally, you can do anything.
Yeah. But what about I think, does the Army ruck more?
Yes, because you got to remember all that time you guys are in the water doing it. We're out in the field rucking.
Well, you guys are playing in the pool. Yeah. We're out there doing man work.
Yeah, it's so when you guys had I like talking about the old stuff because I wasn't the SW prep stuff. I don't really know. I wasn't there. I was there at the time, but I didn't see the day-to-day operations. But I know what the controllers had to do when they got to Bragg, and you got to rock a little bit more over there, but you got your time in the pool because you got to still do that because they're going to, once they get to Maroon Beret, that's when they went to pre-dive.
Scarlet Beret.
Oh, sorry.
Some PJs are going to be very upset about that. It's another thing. We all got different colors berets in the Air Force.
Scarlet. Oopsie.
Yeah. But but you bring it because in the old pipeline for combat controllers, they didn't go through dive and pre-dive and dive until after their initial pipeline.
Right.
They would head over to Hurlburt. So you have all this water training on top of all the other training that you're doing to get through the courses that we would put them through. And you don't even get a
break.
Yeah. You have to be ready for pre-dive. Right. And everybody has an idea of
what it is,
what that means.
Right.
And then, the old combat control schoolhouse, when you were there, that attrition rate
was hideous
before you.
Yes.
Was pretty rough.
Really rough.
And these guys are ATC school that they went through at Keesler was 4 months long. There's the 2-week selection or orientation course that we did at Chapman, Airborne, SEER, They did free fall afterwards
right.
too, along with dive, right? So like you got, your how long is airborne? 3 weeks, another 3 weeks this year, I think ish. And so like these guys have been in the pipeline for a while.
And then when they're not in the school, they're usually back with me waiting to go to a school.
Yeah, so they're not just sitting around. I mean, we were at battle together, and it's a different environment because they're in between courses, and students are at different phases of the pipeline, so everybody's kind of treated differently depending on where they're at. I mean, but if you mess up, you're still a student, and you're still gonna get
hemmed up.
Yeah, so there was a few smoke sessions. I feel like I didn't smoke guys too much, but
I didn't. I didn't need to. It wasn't my job.
Yeah,
but I like competition Thursdays. Remember those?
What is competition Thursday, Kevin?
When I would come up with a workout, and the cones had to beat me.
What happens if they don't beat you?
They didn't want to work, and they only beat me once.
Yeah, well, that sums up cone life, I think, pretty well. It's going to be, you're always on. If there is a competition and you don't win, the reward is more work. But that's kind of just like how it is on team anyway. It's good prep,
right?
So what happened? What were the big changes that you made? Because I know this is something that I think you're really proud of.
Right. So when I got there, the attrition rate to get to Bragg was, once they got at Bragg, their attrition rate was like, just like normal. It was the same as anywhere else. Our selection, the graduation rate was 18%,
right,
approximately, right, and so when I went and looked at it, I was like, wow, I cannot believe these students have been in the Air Force probably over a year now, and then getting washed out and going, thanks, give them a handshake and a quick slap on the butt to go do something else after they've been doing, and that's a lot of training. I looked at it really hard, was trying to figure out what it is that they needed to do mentally and physically, because there's a lot more mental than anything. But man, recovery was probably the biggest tool that I gave these guys to succeed, because nobody cares about the recovery part. It's all about the work. The guys prior, they were getting plenty of work. They just weren't getting enough recovery.
Right. And how did you bake that in? And did you get any pushback?
No, I didn't get no pushback, because all I did was get some cold tubs, get some ice, and do some breathing stuff with them.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and for people that aren't tracking, so like when combat control broke away from the indoctrination course that the PJs were going through at the time, the idea was that you would build these folks up through the orientation course, through the ATC school, which both started out as, I don't want to say gentlemen's courses, because the orientation course was going to get rid of the guys that
didn't want to be there.
The ones that just wanted to say that they wanted to be this. So it was a little bit of a gut check, but nothing crazy. It's only 2 weeks long. And then at ATC, they were supposed to be building these dudes to get ready, right?
Right.
For the big, that we pushed selection kind of to the end of the pipeline with this idea that we would take someone that wasn't quite ready, and stop me if this sounds familiar to a lot of the stuff that we do now. We would build them for that year or whatever, however long it took them to get through all these courses. And then when they got to the real selection course, physically, they would have no excuses to not be able to make it. And mentally, right? Mentally matured. You've been there. You've checked yourself and all these other things. But I don't think that wasn't really what it was.
No, it was a smoke session the whole way from the start until they got to Bragg.
Yeah, I mean, I remember running into that when I was an instructor at Keesler back in the day too. It's like, hey, like what are we doing here? Are we training these guys to meet these exit standards? And also, there's always the background, right? There's the stuff that's on paper, and then there's the I know what's coming.
Right.
And so there's a few things that I need to make sure that you're good at. But like, I'm not creating a beret wearer at Keesler, or I shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be.
I should be giving them as much capacity as possible that they can push into the next course and give them the best possible chance of success, instead of
getting their shit pushed in.
Yeah, it seemed like a little bit of us trying to prove to the students how badass we were all the time.
And each cadre that walked up every day was different and didn't have no systematic approach to what they were doing. One guy running 8 miles one day, the next guy walk up and be like, shit, I like to run too. Poo! Another 8 mile run. And, they focused on what they were good at. And so there was no real cohesive plan during those 4 months.
Hey, are you saying that just because you were on team that you are not an expert at building workout plans?
Fuck no. It's fucking morons. It's like my team sergeant when I was in Okie. He's like, I'm still going to run push-ups, sit-ups, and run. I'm like, oh, motherfucker, we got a strength coach. Why wouldn't we use this guy? You can go run them. Yeah, that's that's your title. You can do that. I'm just an officer. I don't know no better. Like, I don't know how to work out yet. So, it's who's got the biggest, right? At the end of the day. And man, I just don't know why people think push-ups, sit-ups, and running every day is going to get you better.
Yeah. I don't think so. Other than if you're maxing out every day, you're not going anywhere.
Right.
How did you deal with, because all of your students would like come and go.
Right.
How did you deal with individual students? Because one of the things that, at least Trent secondary theory, is you have to kind of deal with these students as individuals at a certain point, and everybody's a little bit different. I remember there was this one guy, I think you remember him probably. He was a big dude.
Mosley?
I don't want to say his name, really.
Oh.
Should we say his name?
Is it Mosley?
Yeah.
Mosley was a fucking beast.
Yeah, but he took a lot of heat.
But he didn't need to do all that work all the time.
You see, you knew who I was talking about.
Why would he need to do all? So this dude is probably one of the most physically gifted dudes that came through the pipeline that I've been there for 10 years. Yeah. He didn't need to put in. He didn't need to go all out every day.
Yeah, but
he knew what he needed to take. And so me as a coach is like, okay, mostly go do what you know what I mean? You know your body better than I do.
But that's difficult for, I think, a lot of the active duty guys, especially like if you get like a staff sergeant straight off a team and he walks in there and he doesn't understand the dynamics of the pipeline and individuals and what you're actually trying to do. And he sees this dude, you know what I mean? Like,
I know what staff sergeant you're talking about too.
There was a few, but obviously there's examples. But like, and you see this dude who's like, his team's putting out, and you see a couple guys putting out because they need more work, like the skinny little dudes like me that probably have
needed to put more work in.
Yeah. And then you see this guy who's like just doing the minimums. Right. And he's like, I just need to go back to my bed and get some sleep.
Because recovery is the key.
Yeah, I'm saving it for the game.
Right.
This isn't the game.
This is not the game.
I think it's hard for that staff sergeant to see.
Yeah, it was hard for them staff sergeants to see that every day isn't the game for them. Their game's over. They're there to hopefully mentor these guys to become better, but they forgot what the fuck they went through, right? Yeah. And thought that's the way to do it. And that's what irks the shit out of me is that people that thinks that's the way to do it is to put in 100% effort every day isn't going to get you there.
It's so stupid. That idea that every day you need to be putting out 100%.
So here's a perfect example. And if you guys think that you're going to get ready for selection or SEALs or Ranger Battalion or some shit like that, and you do the shit that David Goggins does or Tim Kennedy does, and if your body isn't ready for that, you're going to break the fuck off. Yeah. Break off. You're going to get broke off because your body's not ready to handle it. There's those people, even as this guy Mosley that we're talking about, there are minute minority that can do that kind of level of work day in and day out.
Yeah. Well, and like, so how do you build capacity? I think there's this idea that doing 100% every day will build your capacity.
No, it's not. Not every day, man. Every day doesn't have to be 100.
Well, then how do I do it, Kev? Because if I'm not crushing myself every day, then like, am I a piece of shit?
No, you're not. But if that's what you think, then mentally you're going to think that if you're not crushing yourself every day, then that's what you're going to become, is that piece of shit.
Right.
You got to get out that mentality that you have to kill yourself for every workout. That's not what you do. You got to ebb and flow everything.
Yeah.
Every day isn't a crush session.
Well, and yeah. So how did you kind of work the system to make sure every individual was as prepared as possible?
Out there monitoring the shit out of my students to make sure I could tell when somebody needed a little bit more, and I can tell when some people need to pull the hell back.
Yeah. I remember we also had another student that was into like 50-mile runs, right? and this dude was, you remember him?
I know, yeah.
He was a fantastic student. And I remember he showed up at the gym like the day after. It was like a 50 or 100-mile run. And he's like stretching out. And I was like, bro, like,
go take a break.
What are you doing here? Go to an appointment.
Yeah.
You need to sleep.
Right.
Like, if you want to stretch out for a while, that's fine. But like, I don't need to see you for like a couple days.
Couple days.
Yeah. But I think that's hard for
a lot of people. It is hard. It's hard to like pull back and hold back.
Well, so how, as an instructor, because you went through your career, you ended up coming over to our side. At what point in your career or whatever, did you realize that it wasn't about you anymore?
Oh man, when I took a team, you know what I mean? It wasn't about me. When I became an officer is when like a light bulb clicked off, because you had to read these quotes from famous generals and stuff. As a matter of fact, one of them got taken off at West Point. I don't know how duty, honor, country, and those three Hollywoods, what you ought to be, what you will be, and what you can be, was taken down. But, by a famous, Douglas MacArthur, somebody that went to West Point.
Well, whatever.
Whatever, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? You start seeing light like, this isn't about me. It's about my team, my people. It's not about just me anymore. I have to take care of these people the best way that I can. And by educating yourself, if reading as much as you can, and then coming up with formulating your own opinion and options is probably the best thing, to achieve that.
Well, I think it's hard for a lot of people too, because like you get that staff sergeant, and I don't want to keep harping. I'm going to though, that there's a few things going against them. They're still pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
They've never really been in charge of that many people before.
Right.
Their ego, it's a very like self-centered career field.
Extremely.
These career fields are, and especially in the beginning, right? Because it's all about what you can do. And to put that to the back seat is hard. So like you remember the worst day of the pipeline, and it was hard because it's hard for everybody. You're the center of the world, the universe, your capability, and you show up there and you see these students like kind of lollygagging. And in your mind, you don't remember a single day of your pipeline lollygagging, like looking like this, recovering and doing all these other things.
Foam rolling, stretching out, doing yoga. What is that?
So like, I don't want to say like, these guys are stupid. It's just, they don't have that perspective yet. Just like you're going to see these folks on the internet on, the social medias that are like, oh, well, I got this parade. And it's like, bro, you did 4 years.
Right.
Like, and no offense to these guys, but they haven't hit the whole bell curve of experience to really put things together the right way.
Yeah. That's a great valid point there. The bell curve, you know what I mean? Because I started off on one side, worked my way up, and now I feel like I might have went back down. You know what I mean? We got up to a point on that bell curve with the whole pipeline, and then when they redid the whole thing, it just went all the way back down, and they're still trying to build back up. Yeah.
Well, so being one of the guys that helped stand up the prep course, right? Like I was there from the beginning. Working with you, so like I had 4 years of instructor experience, and I had a unique experience because I didn't go through the pipeline that I was an instructor in. Right. So like it was easier for me to step back and to see things. And then I met you, and we hung out a lot. Mm. And then when we went to prep, I remember one of the hardest things that I had to do was sit down with my staffs and some of my techs and be like, guys, like this is not what we're doing. Like we're not here to crush souls every day. Like this is not the game. This is not selection course. Like in week 1, if someone messes up, like making them do 300 push-ups is not an appropriate response. Like,
because then you just interfered with what that whole strength conditioning component is supposed to be doing for them.
Exactly. Like it's such that the ecosystem has so many variables that it's like, dude, you can't just mess that up. You can put them in the front leaning rest for like 3 minutes, which is going to suck for anybody. Right. And you can yell and scream at them and let them know that they did something wrong. Or you can make them write an essay tonight. But like, you can't go ham on these dudes. Right. Like we're trying to build capacity, not test.
So you could put some context into this. Sorry. So when we had these students, when we worked at like Battle, we had them from the time they woke up until they got off after dinner, or they left to go eat dinner. Yeah. Those are long days, right? So you can't work them. That's 8-10 hour day. You can't be crushing them all day, every day, man. It just doesn't work. And they went to the pool 3 times a week, ran twice a week, worked one. It was a lot of volume already doing what you got to do to pass the doggone pipeline, let alone the additional stuff just to get stronger.
Yeah. Well, and I remember having a bunch of those like strength conditioning and like really smart people come into prep too was helpful, because you see the mistakes that people make. Where like the run program was like, we're gonna have them increase this much. It's like a 45-degree angle to the end of the program. But then so is your swim program, so is your strength and conditioning program. And it's like, hey, physiologically, and they had to break this down, that's not a 45-degree.
Right.
Like that's exponential, straight up. The students are hitting a freaking wall. And so I think it's hard for us to like really step back and look at this and be like, hey, like for every action, there's a equal and opposite reaction. And trying to stuff too much into these students early on is going to give us the opposite effect of what we want.
Right. Yep.
So
you can't fill every hour of the day with crushing their soul.
Well, and that's one of the, from a curriculum standpoint, that's one of the difficult things.
Yeah, because you guys it's got to be in stone how what every second, every minute of the day is built out.
Yeah, and it's hard for guys to step off of team, wherever that team is, step into AATC and start to like realize what's happening, right? Because our knee-jerk reaction, like we're problem solvers. If my student's coming out of prep, if I see a couple swim failures, like what's my automatic reaction?
Oh, we're gonna swim more.
More swim, right?
More swim.
We need more volume. But like that doesn't take into account all the other crap that they're doing for those 8 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's hard to see. And so like I remember, because I've talked about this before. We went up to the Navy SEAL prep course.
Yep, I remember that.
They're doing like 6-hour days, if that.
Right. They don't do it. They didn't do that. I remember they were off by like 1 or 2. I was like, oh, we would love this. Amazing.
They're
wow, they get recovery.
Yeah, well, the whole afternoon was just for them. They didn't have a huge support staff.
Right.
But it's like, oh, we have time. Everybody has time. If you have like nitnoid injuries, to go see the physical therapist or go see this person, or go see this person, and their washout rate at their prep course was like less than 10%.
Right.
And then they didn't. Granted, I think we saw the course when it was 10 years in.
Right.
And these guys were like, dude, it took us 10 years
to figure this out.
To dial this in. So we're like
all the way down.
But thank you guys so much for like giving us all your data, 10 years worth of data. We go back to Texas.
Woo! Let's fill the day up.
I mean, there were a lot of things working against us. So you take it back to your curriculum developers, right? The civilians that are, their job is to build courses. And you say, well, we only have maybe 4 hours of actual work per day. And they're like, you can't do that. Like, well, then just write in nap time or whatever, right?
GBNT time.
We can't put nap time in our curriculum. And it's like, well, it's what's best for the students. They're like, you got to do something for 8 hours. And so I remember sitting there building out this course being like, I don't want to put extra stuff in here. So you're trying to like fluff the times of things so that you're not burdening the students. And then, of course, we have all these conversations. We're like, hey, guys, this is what prep is. We're not going to add stuff to it. As soon as the first student leaves that course and there's any problems in NDOC or the selection course or anything else like that, what do you think happens?
They add more stuff. Right back in.
You got to fix it.
Fix it. No.
So, anyway.
Yeah, anyway. Fun times. Fun transition. That's why I'm a civilian now.
A super civilian, right?
Super civilian. Yeah, I went from top of the bell curve to back down to the bottom.
So what were the big gaps in understanding between you and some of the other people that maybe didn't understand what you were doing?
Experience.
Okay.
Relative experience on the battlefield, being deployed, what that stress level is like, sleep patterns, eating patterns, missing the family type stuff. People don't take any of those things into accountability.
Yeah.
Because they're so super focused on their tasks that they have to do that they forget about there's so many other things going on in these people's lives.
Right. Yeah. And I hammered the staff sergeants earlier, but their experience is valuable.
Right.
So like there's like two opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Like people that have never done the job that are, highly educated, have degrees and qualifications, all these other things. They think that they know what's best. And you have your youngins that think that they know what's best. And then it's just chaos when those two things come together.
Chaos. It is chaos when they come together.
So how do we fix it?
The leadership should be able to handle that. But then we'll go back into Air Force officers, the worst officers. You gotta make a damn decision, man. Don't be scared, because you're not gonna always be right. I wasn't always right. You know, you could. It's not, everything isn't going to be right.
This is the problem with you, is that you are willing to make mistakes.
Yeah, I'm willing. And if it doesn't work, then that's perfect. Here we go. So I used to do CrossFit. People that don't know that, I mean, I don't look like it anymore, but I was pretty good at it. I could row 10 500-meter rows, and 132 was what I used to average.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah, I was a fucking monster. But I can't sustain that. I'm going to be 55 here shortly. So you test things, right?
Yeah.
And I just fucking forgot what I was going to say about that.
You are willing to make mistakes.
Oh, yeah. So
changes.
CrossFit, love CrossFit, right? But there's things that not everybody can do right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Handstand push-ups is not something you put into a brand new pipeline with kids that are not athletic, like Air Force guys. Because, you know, everybody that does come in the pipeline are not super gifted, right? I mean, there's a little bit of nerdiness, too, that goes along with it, because they're smart. And they're uncoordinated. And my assumption is that if I can do it, so should this 18-year-old guy do it, kind of?
Yeah, of course.
Right? So I had, you know, when I first got there, I programmed handstand push-ups. And that turned into like an hour and a half class of showing people how to flip up onto a wall. My daughter could we used to have handstand competitions, but my daughter's was a gymnast since the time she was like a baby. But she isn't a gymnast anymore. And so showing them people. And when I found out, I know you don't know this, but a kid chipped that vertebrae, the little thing right here.
Oh, dang.
And it, like, from doing handstand pushes, he landed on his head. I was like, oh, immediately, boop, we're not doing handstands.
And we put pads under their heads.
I know it. Well, I don't know. He might have skipped the pad day thing. Yeah. So, you know, then you reverse that and be like, okay, that's not going to work. But I still need you to be able to press something overhead, right?
Yeah.
So what's the best way to do that? Wall walk. Get into the plank position on the wall, walk your feet up, and then get into the handstand position. I don't need you to move. I just need this to be stable so you can handle a load overhead.
Right.
You know,
implied tasks, right?
Right. Because you don't need to do this movement here upside down. Doesn't happen in motherfucking combat.
I've never done that. That's true. I don't think I know anybody that's ever done that in combat.
I would love, if anybody has done a handstand push-up in combat, please reach out to 18 Alpha Fitness and let me know how you did that.
Yeah, she's going to come on here and be like, well,
for
my 16th silver star, one time I had
to do this handstand push-up because I jumped in through the door and I landed in a handstand and I pushed myself up and I landed on my feet and attacked, right? Yeah. So again, it becomes relative to your learning experience, right? So you take that out immediately. Wall walks, you just need the stability of getting the shoulders stronger, and man, the same bang for your buck.
Dude, you're getting into a lot of things that the people may not understand, like implied tasks.
Right. Oh, wow. This is military decision-making process. Ooh, wow.
Also the reason behind things.
Right.
Right. I remember.
And then you have to be able to fucking turn it in a minute more. We got to get on something right here. And as an officer or as somebody that's a leader, and if you can't make a decision to change it to what you see is right, and you don't have that authority, then you don't need to be an officer.
Man, yeah. It's like I was doing stuff like that as a staff sergeant when I was in the pipeline the first time. Because my students were running to class. Right. And then they were running to lunch and back, right? So the way our thing was set up was the gym was like right next to where the combat controllers went to school. Mm-hmm. So it was like 100 meters maybe. And then their chow hall was maybe 150 meters away from there. So like to make them run to class, to make them run to chow every day, you're putting an additional...
Oh, every day. That's 3 times. What's another mile?
Maybe a quarter mile for those guys.
Yeah.
My guys, the weather schoolhouse was like a mile away. And then their chow hall was at least like a half mile away from whatever it was. I calculated it and I'm like, these guys are putting an additional 7 to 10 miles on their legs every week. Right. And not only that, but they're doing it when they're cold. Mm-hmm. Like they're not warmed up. Nope. And they're doing it in their boots. And I was having a rash of shin splints, right? And so like, because they were my students and I was like the guy in charge of the program at the time, even though I didn't have any rank, I didn't ask anybody's permission. I just said, my guys are not running to class and to chow anymore because I can't be doing this. I'm breaking quality candidates, like super tough guys. And it was not popular, but the shin splints went away and I graduated a bunch of dudes, and I had 0 students that physically failed out of combat control school.
So 0. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Back when it was hard.
Yeah. Back when it was harder. Wow. Yeah. So my talking about, being able to adapt and overcome something. My real good friend, Dustin, we went to the 18 Alpha course together. And this is my second time going to Robin's age as an Alpha. So I kind of knew what to expect because I did it before as an 18 Echo. So they put him in charge to come up during the MDMP process for the 3 days. They made me the warrant officer. And so I had to go out, like within 24 hours, I had to launch, right? To link up with the Recce element and the rat line stuff and come up with a plan. So they let Dustin do the first part. And then when we got on into the field problem, the cadre is like, you're in charge now. I was like, oh, okay. No problem. Got it. Right. And I mean, they started laying it on heavy right out the jump. The first day, that's just scenario stuff, but they're like 24 hours, you got to go retaliate, do what you know what I mean? So we had to do a full mission profile, create. And so I had to send my Recce element out 24 hours probably like 10 hours in advance. And then I had to link up with them. And Dustin always talks about you have the ability to see something and be able to change it and execute it better than most. And you know what I mean? And I think sometimes it's, and I was like, oh, wow. And, you think about things, it's like, oh, I can do that. You know what I mean? Because it's taught. I did fucking 7 full mission profiles in MDMP. God, and if you have ever done, you know what I mean, and become an 18 Alpha, you learn there's these steps that, you start analyzing and then you just do it. And so sent out the Recce element. Then I gave the brief and I linked up with the Recce element and they're like, hey, there's a hole in the fence. I was like, what? I can hit this objective from somewhere else, because it was basically a funnel. They knew exactly. They ran it this damn thing every time, right? And it go through the same way because that's the way they set it up. Yeah. It's set up like that.
Yeah.
And the guy told me there's a hole in the fence. I'm like, well, let me go see. Went down there. Boop. Oh shit, there's a hole in the fence. We're hitting this objective from a whole different way. Frago, right on the spot, did the whole everything, changed everything, right? But the timeline's still the same.
Right.
Because you still execute, because I had 2 elements coming. I had an element coming in from the other way to do some breakout stuff. And then we were hitting the objective. And Dustin was he's like, you are always able to change that. And I mean, I murdered that fucking objective, right? We annihilated, like they didn't even know we were there. And that cadre is like, oh, did you guys put the hole in? Like, nope. And thank goodness we had a walker with us. He's a Green Beret, but he just makes sure nobody dies. And he's like, yeah, no, that hole was there. I was like, whew, shit. You know what I mean?
No, we read the rules. We read the rules. Right, we did not.
Right, we did not. And like, well, you two are done. Like for the rest of the Robbie say, this is day like 12 or 11. There's 14. There's 12 more days left. This is day 2 or day 3. You guys just sit back and just chill out. But again, you have to be able to see things, analyze things, and then be able to problem solve.
Right. Well, and the reasoning behind things, right? I remember in the old combat control Southeast selection course, there was one day where we take the kids out on the track, the students out on the track, and they would run 400s at like a minute 30
130, always 130.
With what was it? I don't know, 30 seconds.
Usually a minute rest.
Whatever it was, but like they had to do like 6 to 8
right
as a team, and we're like, if you don't do it as a team, then you're doing like 12 to 15,
right? And
you're gonna do it. You're gonna hit the time, but you're just gonna keep going until you hit this next number. And I remember asking a guy, I'm like, why do you think this is in the curriculum? And he's like, well, this is making them faster. I'm like, you think one day of running on the track as a team is going to make these folks faster? He's like, yeah. I'm like, no, this is a teamwork.
Yeah, this is a team event
scenario.
Because they all got to come in at 1:30. There's guys that can do it at 105.
Right.
And there's some guys that's going to do it at 135. you
Yeah,
know?
but like they all have to cross the line by 130, and they've learned that if everybody's not meeting the standard, then nobody met the standard, right? And so, and then there's consequences if you don't hit the first 8 or 6 or whatever it was, and it's just like just not being able to step back and look at things objectively and be like, this is not going to make anybody faster, but like they're going to learn. They're going to learn some lessons today, which is most of the orientation selection course was. It was lessons because it's 2 weeks. You're not making guys bigger, faster, stronger. Not really. But like that's a blind spot for a lot of folks, I think, too, is like the reasoning behind everything. And then when the curriculum is written, you know,
it's set in stone. You can't change it.
Well, the subject matter expert, the beret wearer that was sitting in that room with that curriculum developer, laying things out and the reasoning why is that the reasons are not always written in.
Right.
And so, like,
then the next guy, he interprets what that AFI says and how it's written to what his thinking is of it.
Yep. And so that's how, like, also like the pipelines go from a lot of gentlemanly type courses and with the clear expectations of what the students should or should not be doing to a 1.5 year long selection course.
Yeah. So, it was good times though.
So when did you decide that you couldn't deal with the Air Force anymore and that you were going to start writing your own programs?
Well, I kind of I was dabbling with it, probably 4 years, about a year before I stepped away.
I remember.
Yeah, it was getting bad. It was, and then if we don't talk about why it was getting bad as well.
Yeah, I don't care.
The commander that was there when it was 78 people was murdered, had a murder-suicide, and that affected me a lot. A lot of people don't realize that, you know what I mean? To have to go back to work to where Colonel Schroeder was, killed, and then the motherfucker killed himself. And then that stress of when you find out that the guy was actually a Green Beret, you always do the what if games, and then have to go repeat seeing that all the time. Affected, you know what I mean? It did affect me. People just don't realize that because I think I held it, just like we all do. I'm a prideful motherfucker, right? So you don't let that interfere with your day-to-day operations. But over time, me looking back at it, that's what it was at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I should have moved on earlier and did something else.
Yeah, shit floats up at the surface.
Right.
You push it down for so long,
right,
but it's coming up.
It's going to come up. And so, and then there's opportunity. I started working for Go Ruck at a time, and it was a good. It kept my mind, sharp, because besides just because that work was just absolutely horrible at the time. Because again, you know what I mean. I was an enlisted guy, became an officer, became in charge of stuff, and knew how stuff to execute. And when I when I first got there, it was my show. It wasn't nobody else's show. The whole human performance thing was just me, right? And then when you get a whole medical staff, and then you get people that have no understanding of what special operations is, in my opinion, I'm sorry, even if you are a medical staff person, you fucking don't know what special operation is unless you've been in it, right? And I don't know how. These
are people with the best of intentions.
Right, best of intentions, right?
They just don't realize how ignorant they are in some of these things.
Right, and then they won't even listen to what you have to say about why the student isn't crushing it 8 hours a day every day, and why you have breaks built in, and you got to explain yourself to people that have, again, no idea what you're talking about. And then you're having the same conversation, and then you're not even sitting at the table with the commanders telling them why you're doing things, because you're not in charge no more.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And that's why I started building programs, to try to get out of that.
Well, and I don't know if people can tell, but you're not very political.
Oh, motherfucker, no, I don't give a shit what other people think about me. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? I'm a man. I put my pants on the same way you do, right? And I respect people, but I don't hold back, and I will tell you how it is.
Yeah, that's also like part of the community, right? Like if you step in here, like so you talking with all of us active duty guys, it's like, hey, my name's Trent, my name's Kev,
right.
And you're like, I'm like, tell me your story. You're like, oh, I did this many years, whatever it was, as a Green Beret. I was enlisted, and then I commissioned, and then you did like a whole bunch of other educational stuff
Right.
that
Yeah.
I think you don't
Oh
talk
yeah.
about
Oh yeah.
enough.
That's right. I got a master's degree in exercise physiology.
Yeah.
I was a personal trainer since '99. Found CrossFit in '05. Became a certified CrossFit level 1, 2. Did that for years, and then
You do jits,
you know.
you did soft tissue work. Like you kind of were a man of all talents
Oh
when we
yeah,
met.
I forgot. Yeah, I used to work on the students too until we got the medical staff. It says I can't touch a student.
Yeah, but like it's just one of those things. So like we had like a common understanding. It's like, oh, if Kevin is the most experienced team guy in the room, and so like when you would say stuff, even if we had like minor disagreements, it's fine because we could just be straightforward.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like we all kind of understand where we're all coming from. Where I think you bring in someone from an outside, softer community that's used to talking around things and being sensitive, they tend to take straightforward critiquing or feedback as aggressive.
Right. Extremely aggressive. I was extremely aggressive after a while.
Which I mean, I don't understand because I'm like, but and to me too, like we're like a very results driven organization or
yeah, and my results spoke for themselves. I mean, that 18%, the red team guys, I got them up to 63% passing, highest at the time.
Yeah, and that course was a
beast
monster at the time. And so like even if I disagreed with like your methods in the beginning, once you see the success, it's like, well, yeah, I'm an idiot. Kevin knows what he's talking about. So there it is.
There it is. There it all is. And how many minutes is that? 46 minutes. There it is. got to the golden ticket of Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Chocolate Factory.
Kevin's right. I'm a moron.
No, it wasn't that. It's just, it just got so big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just too big. And then there's not somebody that wants to, they want to step up, but they don't know how to step up to make it right. And that's why I had to leave, because nobody wanted to actually step up and take ownership. They thought they wanted, their best intentions were to take ownership, but it's just a unique, the way that you guys write that curriculum and have to stick to that is asinine.
Well, I think there's certain people that you always get along with, right? And it's hard when you're friends with these people too, and some of them, when you lose sight of the most important thing, which to me is
getting these guys through the pipeline.
It's getting folks through
through the pipeline.
Yeah, and it's easy to lose sight of that when like you build a squadron into a group and into a wing, and there's a million people going on, and all these things are important, and there's so much money involved, and like there's all this planning that we didn't do, and then you have to hit all these timelines, and like timelines become important, and like it's easy to lose sight of what the most important thing is and the best person for the job sometimes. And then you just get lost in the sauce. And you're sitting over there being like, hey guys, 30 fucking years of experience over here. I'm getting guys through the pipeline. And yet they just don't want to hear it or don't have time to hear it or whatever it was.
Yeah. So that's why I started 18 Alpha Fitness, y'all, at the bottom. End of the day is why I started it. Got pretty good success with that. But again, it's about consistency, guys. I could write the best program. I could be the best program writer, but if you're not willing to put in the work and the effort, the time and the energy to do the whole program, and I'm not talking just the work, because I do have the recovery stuff,
right?
The breathing, the daily mobility stuff, the weekly yoga stuff. It's all in there, but you got to be willing to put it in. And if you think it's gay, well, then it's going to be gay. But if you think it works, it's going to work,
right?
And I know it works because I'm going to be 55, and I can still probably crush 99.9% of the population in most events.
Yeah. But yeah. But like when you started it out, like it was easy, right? Because you're naturally a guy that likes to be out there on social media and promoting. What?
We'd like being on camera? No, it's not. I'm an introvert, man. I hate being doing social media stuff, but you got to do it. It's a necessary evil, man. So if this is the first time hearing that, it's something that I don't like to do. That's the one part, but it's a business. So I have to do it. It's a necessary evil. You can try to shut it out, but it's there. The only way you guys are going to people know who 18 Alpha Fitness is to get out there and let people know.
Yeah. Well, it's like that. There's tools on team that people are less comfortable with. But it's like why would you leave a tool behind?
Right.
Like social media, yeah, there's positives and negatives. It's like a fucking claymore, but like you're just going to leave your claymores behind all the time just because.
Yeah, I'm not going to give. One thing that I will not do on social media is give my opinion on a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to talk about politics. I don't give two shits. At the end of the day, it's who you are as a person. You got to let some things, you got to just let that go, man. Because you got to survive. My God, I can't think about it that much.
Yeah.
Irks the crap out of me.
I think one of the best things we can do for the country is make a more capable population, right?
Yep. And that's all I'm doing is trying to, my best is make these guys best operators.
What's unique about 18 Alpha versus like other people that will give me a program?
So once you sign up within the app, I personally answer every question. You ever got a question about anything in life, about special operations, I'm the only person that answers it. And it's going to be pretty immediately. And go check out the reviews on Google. I think I'm at 152 on those. And then on Apple, I know about Apple, the app, there's 123 reviews on that, all 5 stars. I care about what I do. I want to help as many people as that are willing to take the advice from somebody that's been there more than once in 2 different branches of service. I think I got a great understanding of how to get guys ready. Again, it's not all work. It's a lot of recovery too.
Yeah, it's hard. But like you said, it's consistency and all that stuff. But I think that personal touch and the way that you coach and the way that you are willing to like flex. Like if you have something in your program and I'm like, bro, like I could only get through 3/4.
Right.
You're not like,
no, yeah. If you guys if you're on any of the programs and you're like, I think I need a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, just talk to me. You just talk to me in the app and I can change things.
Right. There's a time and a place to push someone, but there's also a time and a place to
adjust.
Yeah.
And like I talked about before, adjusting I can do very well.
Yeah.
Especially to adjust to make you a better person.
Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to do those stretching videos with you too, is that there's, like we've known each other, like we keep saying, like for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, geez, a number, coming up on a decade here.
Yeah, soon.
Before too long.
October 14th would be a decade I've been back in San Antonio.
but beyond just me becoming more flexible and healthier and embarrassing myself on the internet, which is like my thing. I think it was hard for people to see just how good of a coach you actually are. And like, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass just because you're on the podcast, but like, I think it's important for people to see it that
I appreciate that.
I think it can be intimidating for people. Like, oh, you're a 18 series enlisted guy, 18 series officer, and then you trained all these dudes in Air Force Special Warfare. Like, what is this guy going to say to me? Is he going to, is it going to be like a Full Metal Jacket? Is he going to be making fun of me all the time and screaming and yelling? It's like, no. Like, you managed to take all this experience and become a decent human, and you're a great coach. And that's why I think it's important for people to know.
Appreciate it. Yeah, the screaming stuff you're not going to get from me. That was their job, and I'm not a screamer anyway. At Green Berets, if you get screamed at SFAS, my time when I went through, they didn't say a word. They wrote everything on the board. Take your instructions from the board.
Yeah,
that's it. So I don't think I need to scream. If you want to do this, you're going to want to do it. If you want somebody to scream at you, good luck on finding a coach that's going to do that. But I'm sure there's people out there.
People paying $18,000 a pop to go get screamed at. Man. You're not going to start that? The Alpha Men group?
No.
18 Alpha Men.
Nope.
No? Okay.
Going to start some more stretching stuff. That's about it.
Cool, man. Well, where can everybody find you and all your stuff?
All right. So I'm on the website, 18 Alpha Fitness, 18A Fitness. .com, and then on social media 18A_fitness on Instagram, and then 18 Alpha Fitness, 18A Fitness on Facebook.
If people see your face on random profiles,
media. There's so I guess I'm not a bad looking kind of guy for an old dude, but there's been a fucker that's been using my stuff that hook and line and sinker women. Catfishing the shit out of people. And I always, once in a while, I get somebody that says that I owe them money. Like, I don't need your money. Don't need to take any of your money. But if you were a sucker enough to send somebody your money, then I'm sorry, it wasn't me.
Yeah, Kevin's happily married.
Yeah.
He's not going to be flirting with you online.
No, I don't have the time or capacity in my brain cells to do that, man. That's a lot of work. Man, I don't want to do that again. To deal with another woman.
It's
Oh
the
my
biggest
God.
thing.
I can't, I don't have that in my mind to do that, man.
When you told me that, I was like, wait, huh?
Yes, there's been multiple. So I think the Zachary Johnson, and then there's somebody else. Thank goodness for Tara. Thank you, Tara, for taking down some of them things.
All right. Oh, well, I think that's going to do it, dude. I appreciate you coming over.
I appreciate it, man.
And check out 18afitness.com and also on Instagram. And then check out OnesReady and all the other stuff that we're doing.
And buy a t-shirt too. My t-shirts are on OnesReady stuff.
Yeah, your t-shirts are awesome.
Thank you. But I like one.
And OnesReady, 18A, I think we all have the same goal. It's to make y'all better, get you the right information, and get those funny hats in your head wherever you're going, or try it if you're so inclined, or whatever else you're trying to do. Kevin's got a program for everybody. Success rate is ridiculous. Go check out the reviews, leave some more reviews, and we'll catch y'all later.
All right, appreciate you.